let's pick up on this discussion now, and we talk matters involving Parliament. The Good Party, it says it does not support the motion to establish an ad hoc committee to investigate President Cyril Ramaphosa on the Phala Phala Farm saga. The party siding with the ANC, arguing that the matter should only come before Parliament once law enforcement agencies have done their work. Well, let's speak now to Brett Herron, and he is a member of the Good Party. Mr. Herron, thank you very much for your time. Why are you of the view that this ad hoc committee should not be established?
Good morning, Chloe. Look, the truth of the matter is that there is already a process underway within Parliament, which was prompted by the ATM party's motion in terms of Section 89 of the Constitution. And Section 89 of the Constitution is the impeachment section in the Constitution. And an independent panel has been established by the Speaker to check and establish the veracity of the allegations and whether there's a prima facie case for the President to answer. And if that process is followed through to conclusion, a committee will be established to investigate the conduct of the President. With regards to the ancillary allegations, which relate to the role of crime intelligence, the police services, the alleged stashing of cash at Phala Phala, those matters are all under investigation by the relevant law enforcement agencies or entities. And so I think the allegations that were made by Arthur Fraser are really enjoying unprecedented scrutiny. And the establishment of an ad hoc committee, when a committee is likely to be established in any event in Parliament, seems to be a political plaything rather than a serious attempt at dealing with all of these allegations.
Well, let me make sure that we get the politics out of the way. I suppose that is going to be the sum total of this conversation anyway. The Democratic Alliance, very clear that the reason you are taking the position that you are is as a result of your relationship with the ANC, and that is that you simply singing for your supper because your leader is a cabinet minister in this administration. How do you respond to that?
Well, I think that's an immature and lazy argument to make. There is no agreement with the ANC or arrangement with the ANC. Every cabinet since 1994 has had an opposition leader serving in it, including the Vryheidsfront, the NFP, AZAPO, the IFP. So there's nothing unusual with the ANC government inviting a leader of the opposition to serve in cabinet, and Patricia de Lille serves in the cabinet to serve her country, not to serve the ANC. But to make it clear how absurd that argument is, in Nelson Mandela Bay, where we were part of the ANC coalition that governed until last week, we switched sides and joined in with the multi-party coalition, which is led by the DA. And we did so because we were dissatisfied with the way the ANC was running and managing that municipality, and we didn't want to be part of a mal-administered municipality. So if we had any agreement with the ANC that put us in lockstep with them, the Nelson Mandela Bay example dispels that ridiculous argument.
You would know, Brett Herron, that Parliament was wrapped over the knuckles at the State Capture Commission of Inquiry for not doing their job, which is to hold the executive to account. Why would this be viewed any different by members of the public who are probably wary of a parliament whose majority is ANC MPs and are failing to hold their colleagues in government to account?
Well, I don't think that that's true, that Parliament is failing to hold the President to account or anybody else to account. As I said, the Section 89 process has commenced. It was sponsored by an opposition party. The motion was accepted. The Speaker has now established the independent panel to evaluate the evidence. So the President is being held to account by a parliamentary process already. The parliamentary committees that oversee the intelligence service, for example, will deal with the Inspector General on Intelligence, who needs to conduct an investigation into the intelligence services alleged involvement in this. The Reserve Bank is busy investigating whether there's exchange control regulation violations, and the Finance Committee will deal with that. So this is very different to the Nkandla allegations and the state capture allegations, which were not dealt with and which were swept under the carpet. These allegations, and we haven't seen any evidence for the allegations, but these allegations are really enjoying unprecedented scrutiny, as I said, by every agency that exists in South Africa. IPID is investigating whether the police covered up a crime. The Hawks are investigating whether there was a crime. The Public Protector is investigating whether the President has breached the Executive Ethics Act and Code. So the Reserve Bank is investigating whether exchange control regulations have been violated. So I think that there is enough distinction between what happened in Nkandla and with the state capture allegations and with these allegations.
Well, Mr. Herron, you'll forgive me for this, because I am going to be to belabor the point about Parliament. If they are not doing their job, then how do you explain the haggling that went on between the Speaker and opposition parties who were accusing her of protecting, or at least trying to protect, the President by taking her time in establishing the very Section 89 process that is now about to get underway? And I suppose my question to you is that, apart from yourselves and the ANC, which other political party represented in Parliament stands against this ad-hoc committee being formed?
Well, I don't know where they stand, because we'll vote this afternoon. There were some speeches yesterday, and not every party participated. But the point really is that a committee will be established if the Section 89 process is followed through and if there is a prima facie case to be answered. What we don't need is to feed a frenzy of political opportunism, which I think is what we're seeing right now. There's no one can argue that the allegations made by Arthur Fraser are not being investigated, are not being tested, and Parliament is playing its part in terms of Section 89 of the Constitution, where a committee will be established. So if the Section 89 process goes through to its conclusion where a committee is established, then we will have two committees, if we follow the DA's motion, sitting investigating the same allegations, which doesn't make any sense. A process has commenced in terms of Section 89 of the Constitution. If there is a prima facie case to be answered, a committee of Parliament will be established to investigate that and make a recommendation to the National Assembly as to whether the President should be impeached. And I think that should be sufficient. It is sufficient. And the adding of another committee to do the same work is really a political posturing and really political opportunism. And of course, it's not surprising that opposition parties are jumping on this bandwagon, because it's politics. But we are in the business of serious politics and in the business of serious and constructive opposition. And we will participate in this process in a serious manner, which is why we've taken this position, not to side with the ANC, but to side with common sense and side with the Constitution and with the implementation of the rule of law.
Let's conclude the conversation on a principled matter, and that is that at the end of the day, the voters, when you get out there closer to 2024 as the good party and you canvass for votes, it's your image that will talk to the electorate. Here's my question to you. are you comfortable with your leader, Patricia de Lille, serving under an administration that is led by a president who, at least for now, is under a cloud with some political parties, EFF to mention, who say that the president may be involved in matters of money laundering?
Look, we are satisfied that our leader is serving her country to the best of her ability. She's serving a president who has not yet been found guilty of committing any crime or breaching any rule. There are allegations that have been made, and we must remember who made the allegations and when they were made on the eve of the Zondo Commission report, which fingered the person who made the allegations. What we must also remember is when we go to the polls is that the Freedom Front Plus, for example, served under President Zuma in the cabinet. And they went to the polls and they improved their electoral support. So, and President Zuma's term of office was mired in controversy, in allegations, and is really 9 years of a presidency that has put us in the position we are in many respects with regards to the state capture allegations and the Nkandla scandal. So we must remember that every cabinet has had an opposition leader serving in it, that there is no agreement between ANC and Good, and that that Patricia de Lille is serving her country and doing a very good job in public works and infrastructure, a department that was mired in corruption, that was involved in building Nkandla, and she's busy cleaning up. And I would be very proud to go and tell the voters what she's achieved and the efforts that she's gone to clean up a department that was riddled with corruption.
Brett Herron, you make a very good argument indeed. Let me thank you very much for your time, a member of the Good Party in